Karen, are we ready?
To my girls, they said they liked it. I guess it was good. You gotta leave it at that. Yeah. Send them road.
Good morning and welcome to the Walton County Technical Review Committee for February 16th, 2022. First item in the way of announcements, we're all neighbors here, we're all friends, we may have a difference of opinion, but let's keep it very technical in this meeting. This is not the meeting to say I don't like a particular application. It is the meeting to say I have questions about this particular application but regarding compliance with a particular part of the comprehensive plan or the land development code. Appreciate everyone respecting those few rules. I think we do have a bailiff right outside in case we need one. First item on our agenda this morning is approval of the January 5 and January 19 minutes. Do we have any adjustments to those minutes?
I didn't see any adjustments. Can we approve them at the same time or need a separate motion for each?
I think we can approve both at the same time if there are no changes.
I'll make a motion. We approve the January 5th and January 19th, 2022 TRC minutes as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those likewise. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We will move right into project review this morning, and I think our first 10 items on the agenda will either be tabled or continued. Take those individually. Can we have a motion to table the Musset Bayou Road Developer Agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is tabled. Item number 3, the Musset Bayou Road Small Scale Amendment. We have a request to table also. Could we have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is tabled. Item number 4, Fairwinds RV Small Scale Amendment. We have a request to table on this item. Could we have a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is tabled. Item number 5, the Fayyard Self-Storage Expansion. We have a request to table this major development application. Do we have a motion to table? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is tabled. Moving to item number 6, the West Grove Avenue 2 replat. We have a request to table this item. We have a motion of the dais.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is tabled. Now, with regard to these items that are tabled, that just means they are not ready to be heard or the applicant has potentially changed their mind. They're available to come back as soon as the applicant wishes them to be rescheduled and we have a complete application. Moving to item number 7, the Dune Allen Second Edition Lot 7 and 8 replat. We have a request to continue to the March 2nd TRC meeting.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have anyone here representing the applicant this morning? Seeing none, we have a motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item will be continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. And if will pardon the extra noise outside, we are building a new parking lot in the back, which will relieve all of our difficulties out in the front. We may have to pause while the heavy equipment's going by for just a moment, but if y'all will just bear with us, we'd appreciate that. Moving to item number 8, the Club Drive Lot 3326 replat. We have a request to continue this item to March 2nd. Could we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have anyone representing the applicant this morning? Do you concur in this continuance? Thank you, sir. We have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Moving to item number 9, we have the Hollow Lake large-scale amendment. We have a request to continue this item to March 2nd, 2022. Could we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Anyone representing the applicant this morning? Or do you concur in this continuance? Thank you, sir. We have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Moving to item number 10, the Fairwinds RV Park. We have a request to continue to March 2nd. Could we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have anyone representing the applicant this morning? Seeing none, we have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That moves us to item number 11 on our agenda this morning, the Destin land connection. This is a minor development reviewed by Kelly Schultz. Kelly, if you'll introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a request to approve by development order. It's a minor development application submitted by David Forstrom, PE, on behalf of the Destin Land Connection LLC, requesting to develop 9 single-family lots on 1.25 acres with a future land use of residential in the zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is in District 4. It's located north of Scenic Gulf Drive at the corner of South Payne and Payne Street. The parcel identification number is in your packet. We would like to request to enter citizen serve file, related documents, and the staff report into the official record, please.
So entered. Looks like we still have a number of outstanding comments.
Yes, sir. For the most part, they are engineering related.
And we have sidewalk buyout request.
Yes, sir.
We'll let the applicant explain that particular component.
Yes, sir. I believe I saw Mr. Forstrom come in.
Right here.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Good morning. David Forstrom. I replied within 2 days of receiving the Dewberry comments on the engineering comments, and I believe I've addressed them all, but obviously I'll defer to Bill. First comment was about a gravel entrance and staging area. We added that. We did add a drainage map also. The river birch trees, which are going between the driveways, is kind of a narrow gap. I got an email from my landscape architect saying she will send a letter certifying that that is acceptable if we follow certain procedures. I haven't got the letter yet, but I can upload that. But I did send Bill the email on the trees. We added a drainage easement for the outfall pipe. On the invert of the 30-inch pipe of 14.25, I added a note that the outfall is 17.5 feet, which is higher than the 16-foot. So the outfall is above the grade of the swell in the right-of-way. I added a detail on the T connection for the PVC pipe to the exfiltration system. I added a snippet from the HydroCAD model showing how we did include the sharp-crested weir in our model for the drainage calculations. The 5 exfiltration chambers were shown on the plan view, although they may not have been as clear, so I did label those. And also we added 90-degree bend to the PVC. So I sent Bill a letter for those on February 9th, and all the plans have been uploaded. And also the 2 public works comments where we changed the sidewalk in the right-of-way to concrete, and we add the 15-foot easement. So I feel like we've addressed all the comments. I just need to hear from the reviewers if they've had a chance to look at them.
Mr. Chair, I personally haven't had a chance to look at the resubmittal.
What are we doing landscaping wise? I mean, we have street trees shown on the landscape plan.
Yes, sir. I do have a question on the oak trees. My client wanted to know if we can do palm trees. I don't know if that's allowed instead.
I don't think palm trees can substitute for,
Required trees. Okay, gotcha.
we have trees on that small roadway that serves the 2 lots in the back.
We do not. That's a private road. I can certainly add trees to that.
I think our policy is if you're creating a road, you need trees.
We can add trees there, sir.
So that needs to adhere to that particular requirement. Particular change.
I know the engineering comments may seem a lot. Probably about half of them are notational. Maybe it wasn't as clear what the plans would show. And I think the drainage model is fine. I just need to point out that the outfall was shown in there.
Can you clarify if this is the current layout that was in the packet? Because the one I reviewed, the driveways were, I mean, basically connected. So there's a lot more space between the driveways in this one. The river birch trees you were talking about, you're trying to plant them in an 8-inch space between each driveway. That won't work.
From the previous review, we actually took 1 lot out, so now we only have 8 lots. The reason for the small gap is the client, they're going to be used for short-term vacation rentals, and they want to make sure they have enough parking on their property, you know, not to end up have people parking in the street. So that's why we went with the wide driveways.
I'm not going to claim to be a landscape architect, but a mature river birch is probably going to be like a 24-inch diameter tree, and you're trying to plant it within an 8-inch gap. I don't see that happening, especially with brick paver driveways and root
Yes, sir.
system.
And I'm not a landscape architect either. I'm just,
But I mean, logically, wouldn't you know that wouldn't work? Don't you agree?
if this gets to that diameter, yes, sir.
Well, what's the purpose of planting a small tree? For it to grow large, right?
Well, to grow up, not necessarily wide. So, I mean, I can reach out to her, see if there's another better solution. I told her the situation, and we had 8 inches to work with. She goes, this will work. And so, again, this is the landscape architect. I'm not a landscape architect either. So
I understand,
defer
but
to her.
you've seen trees, right?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen full-grown oak trees, live oak trees that you're proposing on Lot 1?
Yes, we can change those.
Yeah, you were proposing them 5 feet from the building setback line, so between the sidewalk and the house was gonna be a full-grown live oak at some point, because that's the intent of the county, is for these trees to
We can-
grow
we
and
can
become
revise
mature.
those. Yes, sir.
So I don't see how that would work either. So I'm just bringing these items up. So those are some of my concerns with the actual planning of this development.
Regarding the live oaks, I agree with your comment on that. I did not make that change. I hadn't heard back from the others, but, you know, we're going to go with a different tree on that. The other option was to cluster them more towards away from the building.
Since this isn't the current layout, where is the drainage easement? Is drainage easement going to be on the east side of lots 5 and 9?
The drainage easement, yes, sir, was uploaded on February 9th with the revised plans. It's going to be on the east side.
And so how wide is the easement?
We have a 15 and 10 foot wide, both 15 and 10 for a 30-inch pipe.
So you're showing a building setback of 7.5 feet. So how's that work if they build the building right up to the 7.5 foot line?
Oh, The
and you have a
drainage
15
easement, I'm sorry, is in the rear.
Yeah, can we pull up the most recent submittal there if we don't have that one on the screen?
So from the road inward, we have 15 feet. It's for a 30-inch pipe, so it's less than 3 feet. The last lot, we have a 7.5 foot. Now, the reason we put the outfall, we could have put the outfall in the northeast corner. That's where the pre-development drainage was. We chose not to do that because it would, you know, there's neighbors behind it. So we chose to go with a longer pipe to the street for the 100-year outfall. But it's 15 feet. 7.5 foot drainage easement for a 30-inch pipe.
I think Public Works was requesting a minimum of 15 feet so they can get equipment in there to maintain that pipe if necessary. And it just doesn't appear that a 30-inch pipe would be maintainable in that 7.5 foot setback with essentially a house built right there up against the building setback line. And that's what they're gonna do is maximize the buildable space. The other thing is the inverts on the pipe don't appear to be adequate for the pipe to be fully buried in the ground. So that was a concern I had myself with the 30-inch pipe. It looks like, you know, to be sticking out of the ground about 6 inches when you look at some of the finished grades. And so I haven't got a chance to look at this resubmittal with, you know, the revisions and the sidewalk and stuff added, but there were quite a bit of concerns I had with trees, landscaping, and that stormwater discharge. Mr. Chair, those are the 8-inch gaps between the driveways.
Right, I'm seeing that now.
If it is an issue with the county, I can check with my client if they're willing to narrow they could take 1 parking space out. Instead of having 5, they could have 4. And that would give plenty of gap. But again, their intent was to have as much parking as possible on the lot to minimize renters from parking in the street.
Maybe the houses shouldn't be quite so large.
Maybe, that's up to my client. We did take one lot out. We were going to do
Don't have
9.
enough room for the impacts of what's being proposed, then, I mean, that's pretty much the common sense circumstance.
Well, we did reduce, we could have done 10 houses, we only did 8. But yeah, they are large houses, I agree.
How big are they proposed to be?
They're going to be your typical vacation rental house. I don't know the exact square footage, but they're going to be pretty much identical to the ones on the other side, Payne Street, those. I believe they're going to be 3 stories, and yeah, they're vacation rental houses, so. Yes.
Mr. Chair,
That's my client's intention, to have a small pool. Yes, they feel that helps their rental, so.
I'd like to see how that's going to fit on these lots. Do we have any kind of architectural?
Well, if you want to go across the street to the 9 houses on Payne Street or go to Google Earth, they're tiny little pools. You can see how they'll fit. But, I mean,
I have some concerns about all of this fitting in, especially if these are proposed to be short-term rentals. An area of concern that I do see is that small stub street. How are you going to prevent parking on that, blocking access to public safety vehicles?
well, we decided, well, that's a good point. The one across the street had 2 driveways. We felt it'd be better to go with the road. And how will you prevent parking? I mean, there's streets all over the county where you have that same issue. I can't say. The intent was to add 5 parking spaces on the property to discourage parking on the street. Hence the wide driveways.
Yeah, but they're all backing straight out into a street.
I mean, people are going to park where they want to park. I don't know what you can do about that.
I do.
Okay. Yes.
Require you to build something smaller and make the parking fit what you're proposing to build.
Sir?
I mean, that absolutely is the mood of the county commission right now.
Oh, I understand.
You do understand that we have a parking ordinance that's in review. We're about to have a big parking workshop here in another few days.
Yes, sir.
That is a hot topic, and all of it points to the short-term rental market and a host not managing their guests.
I agree.
Satisfaction of the county commission.
Yes, I agree. There are issues. I'm aware of that, and I'm here to serve my client and also to comply with the county requirements.
And I understand that, and historically, I mean, our applicants have been tasked with maximizing, the envelope for their client, and that's what they're getting paid for. What I'm saying is that ship may have sailed in our county.
Right. In this case, we didn't. We actually went back one. We went from 9 to 8 because they looked at it and they said, this is too much.
And I do appreciate that effort. I'm not sure if that's as far as we need to go. I am concerned about parking on that short street. And if we're about to build this and we don't know how we're going to control it, then I don't know that we can approve it.
Well, how would you control it on the other street? I don't know.
Covenants and restrictions. I mean, you're going to have an HOA related to this particular development. Are all these houses going to be owned by one person, or are they going to be individually sold as
Not
vacation
sure.
rentals?
I mean, I could make it 2 driveways instead of having that, but the fire department needed for a turnaround. And so, those 2 driveways, like the one across the street, then they could theoretically gate their driveway and there's no fire turnaround. So that was a concern.
Well, we absolutely have to be concerned about public safety. I'm a little bit, having been an operator of large real estate developments before, I just have a concern about the answer of, I want to build something, but I don't know how people are going to use it.
Well, I think they do know how they're going to use it, and that's why they asked for 5 parking spaces on the property itself. So, I mean,
I just have some concerns.
and I can talk to my client. If y'all have suggestions, I can run it by them. I mean, I'm,
One more question for you. The proposed sidewalk buyout, that's on the western side of Payne Street?
yes,
Okay. We do have sidewalks on the other side, on both sides of the street. It appears anyway from the drawing.
yes, we do, yes.
Thank you. Do you believe you have submitted in response to all the outstanding comments?
Yes,
We
sir, I
already have
do.
that
Yes,
submittal?
Public Works and Engineering, yes, I do.
I'm not comfortable moving this out of TRC yet, given the list of outstanding comments that we may have a submittal that addresses all of those, but our
Good.
reviewer hasn't had a chance to review that. I'm going to suggest we continue this to the next TRC,
Okay.
to give us a chance to review those comments, to give you a chance to think about how you're going to control parking on East Payne Street. Is that what that's labeled as? I mean, at a minimum, this stuff's going to have to be addressed in covenants and restrictions.
Unless they want a gate that the fire ambulance has access to, I mean, I'll think about it. I'm open to suggestions.
I mean, there's no room for turnaround here for people that can't get through the gate. So
Right.
given this is short-term rental, that just ain't going to work. You just don't have the room to put a gate and meet the driveway throat length requirements and the turnaround requirements. So with these questions still outstanding, I'm going to suggest we continue this to the next TRC, which is the March 2nd TRC. If we could have a motion at the dais for that.
I will make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item's continued to the next TRC. Thank you for your comments and the
Thank you.
submittal, and we will be reviewing that.
Okay, thank you.
This moves us to the Camp Swift plat. Okay. Yeah, this is your review, right? Or your, which other one? Oh, is he here yet? or- Okay. Yeah, let's go. Excuse me for just one moment. We're going to have a substitution for our contract engineering review team. Standing in for Bill will be Mr. Cliff Nauer, if he's in the building here somewhere. Both is in the building. Good morning. We're at agenda item number 12, the Camp Swift plat. This is a plat application reviewed by Stephen Shawn. Stephen, if you could introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Project number PLA 21-000047 is a plat application submitted by Volker Surveying on behalf of Sub-IP LLC requesting to plat 6 single-family lots on 1.25 plus or minus acres with the future land use of residential in a zoning category of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 5 and can be identified, by the parcel ID in the staff report. If I could please enter the staff report as well as the citizen serve electronic records,
So enter.
as well as I provided 2 separate documents, updated staff reports from environmental and public works surveyor, or the county surveyor, excuse me. If I could also enter those into the record, please.
And those items are so entered. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, there are still some outstanding comments from planning, environmental, and from the surveyor. The last resubmittal did identify and address some of the previous concerns. However, there's still outstanding things that need to be addressed. Some of them are very minor in nature. Others require some additional submittal materials. But I will let the agent address those if you don't have any questions for me.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Stephen? Thank you.
Morning, Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman for the developer for Camp Swift. I did see all of the comments. We believe we can turn these around fairly quickly, and what we'd like to do is get it moved out of the TRC contingent upon addressing all the comments and ready for the plat to be go to Mylar and then to the Board of County Commissioners. The original request to continue was because the developer at the time was wondering how they needed to proceed with getting it ready for final approval. They are prepared to, or have already prepared to, or have already submitted their engineer's cost estimate and surety in order to process. There's the little bit of construction necessary to complete the plat. So the original developers are, this is all contingent upon them getting this through the platting process. So we feel like we can get these completed. There's some covenants and restrictions that should have already been submitted. I'll have to look into that again. I think that's our office. So if they haven't done it, it's my fault, but we'll have those submitted fairly quickly.
Okay.
There's just a few comments that we need to go over with the surveyor to clean up on a few things.
Thank you for all of that. We don't have covenants to review. There are a number of outstanding issues here. I don't feel comfortable moving it forward without those being resolved.
Okay.
We'll entertain a motion to continue to the next meeting. Would that be enough time to get us there?
2 weeks to the March 2nd? Mm-hmm. I think so.
Then I'll entertain a motion to continue to March 2nd.
Motion to continue.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Thank you, Melissa. That moves us to item number 13. I have a question. Has there been a clearing permit issued on this site?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there anybody here representing the developer this morning?
Developer agreement.
This site is being cleared this morning.
Miss Baker is here. Or,
Michelle Baker, Baker Engineers.
We issued a clearing permit for this site.
You asking me if you issued a clearing permit? I
You
don't
know.
know, did you issue a clearing permit? I don't know if he's doing some kind of clearing for something out there.
There's an excavator this morning clearing right behind the project sign.
Okay,
And I'm pretty sure we didn't issue a permit for that. And that's a bit premature.
right, I understand.
So we can't hear either one of these 2 items this morning until we figure that out.
You?
Yes, sir. Did you have a comment about this particular project? Yes, sir, I do. Come to the podium, please.
My name is Mr. Mayew, Mayew. I own the land adjacent to this particular property. Mr. Finch has engaged Mr. Pasco, a surveyor who claims I am encroaching on a portion of his land. I bought it, I've occupied it, I maintained it for the last 26 years and paid taxes on it. Mr. Pasco's survey also crosses the access road to the extent it blocks access to the Caswell and Becker properties and bars access to the heavily forested land to the east, which is a major fire hazard. You're correct. They are clearing that land today, right next to my land. Sure. And we have not resolved who owns that land. Until Mr. Finch can properly describe his land, I see a reason to object to its zoning classification, and I would like that entered into the record, please, sir.
Your comments are on the record. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Sure. Anyone else? I have questions about this particular application. Yes, sir. If you'd come forward and state your name for the record, sir.
My name is Glenn Caswell, or Willie Caswell, as the property owner to the north of the recently purchased French property. And I just want to
spell
go,
your last name for the clerk, please.
Caswell, Caswell.
Thank you, sir.
It's 20 acres to the north of the property, recently purchased by Mr. Finch. And I just wanted to go on record also opposing any rezoning of that property to industrial. If I'm not mistaken, it was rezoned to commercial not too long ago, and I didn't oppose that. But I have plans on developing my property into a mini farm. I've been retired for a few years now and getting to the point where I want to develop that into a home, shop, pond site, such as that. Mr. Mayhew's to the south is a residential property, and I just don't see an industrial property of any type going between those two residential properties. And again, the property itself seems to be in conflict right now. Apparently, Mr. Finch bought the property, resurveyed it, and then realized that he didn't purchase the property that he thought he bought. I don't know what that issue is, but apparently a lot of conflict going on, and I would object to any rezoning at this time and industrial zoning at any time.
Thank you, sir. Your comments are on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have a question or comment about this particular application? Yes.
Morning. I just wanted to confirm that they did get a clearing permit. I discussed this with Kristen a few weeks ago. They submitted an environmental assessment. The vegetation on the property does not require preservation, and there were no wetlands on the property.
Do we know if it's the subject property?
It is the parcel ending in 0010. There's two parcels on this, in this description. And so the clearing permit was only for the one parcel ending in 0010.
Just giving my concern about the confusion about this particular, thank you very much for that information. I'm going to suggest we continue this for 2 weeks while we sort out who owns what land and what parcel has a clearing permit.
Yes, sir. We would like to, I've actually given my card to the first gentleman that spoke. We'd like to get them together to talk about what the actual concern is, try to iron out the situation.
Yes, and that would be a good idea to talk to neighbors as
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll entertain a continuance on item number 13 and number 14, are both directly related. I suggest we continue those to March 2nd. While these concerns get addressed. Can we have a motion to continue item number 13 to March 2nd?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 2nd, 2022 TRC at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Item number 14, we'll entertain a continuance to that same date. We could have a motion at the dais.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to March 2nd, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That will move us to item number 15, a minor development for Sellers Tile expansion, reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you could introduce it for us.
I'm not Tim, sir, but I am standing in for him. My name is Renee Bradley.
Thank you, Renee.
Yes, sir. This is a minor development order MIN 21000071. This application was submitted by Al Day Howell Engineering Incorporated on behalf of Sellers Tile Distributors and Pew Enterprises LLC. They're requesting approval of an 18,500 square foot expansion of the existing Sellers Tile and associated infrastructure on 2.76 acres, plus or minus, with a future land use of mixed use in zoning category of village mixed use. This property is located in District 5 and can be identified by the parcel ID in your packet. I would like to enter the staff report into the record as well as the citizen serve electronic file. We do have some outstanding comments on this project still. The DRB submittal was not resubmitted at the time of the resubmittal. It's my understanding from Tim that we still have planning, engineering, and scenic corridor comments outstanding. At this time, sir, I'll turn it over to the applicant if it please the committee.
Thank you, Renee.
Good morning. I'm John Feeney with Alday Howell Engineering. I just lost my place here with the comments. One of the comments was about the sidewalks still being called out as 4 feet. That's actually called out as 4 inches, and that's a thickness. So that one's been revised. I'm trying to find it. I talked to the survey reviewer after our first resubmittal, and he said as long as we submitted new title work that he would verify that the survey was accurate. I can get our surveyor to provide the title work in the survey if that's necessary. But the surveyor has provided that there's no more comments, so I thought that was addressed. I talked to our lighting consultant and the building architect, and they're both working on submitting the DRB comments.
Survey does need to be signed and sealed within 12 months of the application date to meet the land development code requirement.
Yeah, and that was the survey for the property that's already developed.
Have we resubmitted yet for the DRB submittal?
No, but I did get an email this morning from our architect, which I'm pretty sure has all the resubmittal documents with it. I haven't reviewed them to make sure they met all the comments, though.
Tim, what is our DRB schedule for this project? Has it been scheduled yet?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
On the portal, it says it's scheduled for April 7th, I believe.
Okay. Then we got time to fix these particular ones. One of the things that I see on the DRB comments is the outside lighting poles exceed the 14-foot limitation.
Yeah, I talked to the lighting consultant yesterday. He said he made that revision.
Okay.
He said they were at 14 feet. Do they need to be lower than 14 feet?
Can't
Or-
exceed 14 feet.
So if they're called out at 14, is that?
That'll meet the requirement. They can't exceed 14 feet. Are there any wall pack lighting on this
Yes,
particular
and
building?
he's supposed to be submitting the spec sheets for those.
We don't like those.
Okay.
And the reason is they provide glare to cars traveling down the highway. I would suggest unless it's a complete full cutoff and there's no glare at all. You can't see any glare coming down Highway 98.
Well, there is a building between what's being built and the highway. There's a 20,000 square foot building that's about 25 feet tall between this that's getting developed and the highway. And both properties adjacent to it have buildings near the roadway that would block it from further back.
That is a big concern. Just make sure that's addressed.
Okay.
Do you have an idea how long you'll need to resubmit?
I think we can get it back by the end of the week.
Tell you what, let's do. This one is proposed for DRB in April. Let's continue this to the middle meeting in March. To give you plenty of time to get all of this stuff taken care of so that when we go to DRB, or when we go to the 16th, this is completely clean. That we'll go ahead and advertise for the DRB, anticipating that all this stuff will be completely addressed and we'll be ready to go, including anything related to the DRB submittal.
Okay, so you're continuing to March 16th, is that correct?
That is our date, March 16th, with the idea that we stay on schedule for the April, that first Thursday in April's DRB. Do we have any other questions from PRC? This is a minor development, so we're going to take a moment just to see if we have any questions from our public or comments regarding compliance with the comprehensive plan or land development code. Anyone here today wish to make a comment on this particular application? Seeing none, we'll entertain the motion to continue to March 16th.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 16th TRC at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Thanks, sir. This moves us to, ironically, the Move It Storage Santa Rosa Beach, item number 16. A major development also reviewed by Tim Brown, with Renee Bradley standing in for Tim. Thank you very much.
This is request to approve by final order. The project number is Major 22000001. Was reviewed by Tim Brown. This major development order application was submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Move It Storage, requesting approval to develop 46,018 square feet of mini storage on 7.9 acres with a future land use of mixed use and zoning category of village mixed use. The property is located in District 5 and is identified by the parcel IDs in your packet. I would also like to enter the staff report into the record as well as the Citizen Serve electronic file.
Thank you, Renee. Both of those are so entered.
Thank you. There are still outstanding comments on this project. We have planning, engineering, flood, environmental, and scenic corridor comments outstanding. And at this time, for the police committee, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Renee?
Thank you.
John Humphrey with Emerald Coast Associates.
Good morning.
Morning. The comments are fairly minor. I have no questions about them. They're pretty straightforward and I can address them. I'm just going to ask to continue to the March 16th TRC to give us time to complete these comments and for staff to review it.
Thank you, sir. I'll be particularly interested in planning comment number 3.
Let me look at that.
recreation component of this VMU project.
Yes, yep. That will be addressed.
Let's see, we have a number of comments. The applicant's requesting a continuance to March 16th to provide time to adequately respond to any outstanding comments. We'll entertain a motion at the dais.
Motion to continue. Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take just a moment to see if anyone has a technical question or comp plan compliance question regarding this particular application. Anyone in the audience wish to ask a compliance question? Seeing none, we have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 16th TRC at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Thanks, Sean. This moves it to item number 17, the Bluffs at Juniper. It's a major development reviewed by Renee Bradley. Renee, if you can introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a request to approve by final order. Project number is Major 22000002. This major development was submitted by JP Engineering on behalf of Shivers Holding LLC. They're requesting to develop 361 single-family homes, 55 townhomes and associated infrastructure on 104 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential and a zoning district of urban residential. The property is located in District 3 and is identified by the parcel ID in your packet. I would like to enter the staff report into the record as well as the electronic citizen serve file.
Thank you, Renee. Both are so entered.
We do have some flood comments outstanding, environmental engineering and planning comments, as well as 911 addressing. We were lacking a landscape plan on this project. My biggest concern in the review was, do we possibly need a phasing plan for plating on this project, being it's so large? And with that said, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Matthew Parker, JP Engineering, on behalf of Shivers Holdings. Hope y'all are doing well this morning. We do have some outstanding items. Most of them are typos, labeling. On the floodplain clips a little piece of one lot by a couple of feet, which is easily addressed. On the environmental aspect, I think there's a misunderstanding of what's going on this property. This property was completely clear-cut agriculturally recently, and so there's nothing natural about the site. That was really the only item that I felt needed to be discussed today. But with that, I think that we can get these comments turned around pretty quickly, and we respectfully request that we move forward contingent on addressing these comments. Now, we would also like to set up a community meeting with the neighbors up there, and we wanted to get through the TRC with a level of assurity of what to present to them. And so we would like for that to be triggered so that we can move that along and have that community meeting. But I think in working with staff, we can address these comments fairly easily.
Do you have an idea as to when you're going to schedule a community meeting?
Well, it really kind of depends on what happens today, and I'd like to reach out to the environmentalist. I don't think that she understood that the property was clear-cut. We've done a really good job of preserving the wetlands, which is the highest focus of preservation in the land development code. We've got a lot of buffers, a lot of open space. I think that we're delivering a project that the neighbors will agree with. Obviously, housing that people can afford in this area of the county is extremely important. And, every delay and every hurdle that we jump through works in the opposite direction of being able to deliver affordable housing. So that's, like I said, I think that most of the comments are typos, some street labeling, are pretty minor. And I think that we can easily work that out with staff. But again, the environmental comment was basically that an area had to be protected, but there's nothing natural about it. It was clear cut prior to my clients purchasing this property and under an agricultural use. So I think all other items we can address with staff.
I did have a question about density. The staff report is silent on allowed and proposed. And just looking at the site plan, it looks pretty intense.
Yes, sir. We're within the allowable. The staff report indicated that we are consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code, and that include density.
What is it?
416.
416?
Yes, sir. 416 units, single family.
But I mean, what's the proposed density per acre on this side? Four. Yeah, it's 104 unit site.
104 acres.
I mean acre site, yes.
Those areas for preservation area, access to information very passive way. And set back off the lake, very conscious of the environmental aspects of the lake. So I think it's a responsible development. There are a lot of houses. We need a lot of houses.
I mean, do we have an idea of what that range of affordability is going to be?
I do not know if the client knows those specific numbers at this point.
Being proposed as an affordable housing project, or we just hope to have a price point that makes it affordable in this
Just a
market?
price point that makes it affordable.
Not actually proposing this to qualify as an affordable housing development.
Correct. To my knowledge, but I can confer with our clients specifically on that. But no, sir, at this time, my understanding, I mean, the market in that area will drive the price point, which will be affordable. I mean, they're not going to put something on the ground that they can't sell. And in that area, those price points.
I don't think anybody's put anything on the ground in the last 2 years that they couldn't sell. I mean, I appreciate that, but I mean, that's our problem. It's before you can build it, it's sold and probably sold again before the CO.
I don't know if too much in this particular area of the county. Myself, now, I don't see all of the projects like y'all do, but I think this type of product in this area is really going to be, in my opinion, a good thing for the county.
Well, we need a tremendous new supply of housing in the Definiak Springs area. I mean, there are a number of developments that are under construction now. But I mean, it's, if you talk to any realtor, they're begging somebody to list their house because things are selling before they get listed. I mean, I probably have 4 or 5 calls a week.
Great.
Myself.
I hope you can tell them that 416 more are coming soon.
And I'd like to be able to do that. I do have a concern about moving a project of this scale forward without having a community meeting, because I would expect once we get to the BCC, we'll get held up for the community meeting.
Oh, yes, sir. We certainly, Ms. Bradley highly recommended that in our pre-application meeting. We respect her opinion and that of the planning staff, and I've actually have the package ready to go. We're waiting to get through this meeting to make sure that there wasn't something that I missed, which I don't think there is, that would have a significant impact on the layout. We certainly didn't want to have a community meeting, present something, and then a technical comment adjust that. And now what we have presented is inaccurate, and then you lose credibility. We certainly didn't want to do that. So we want to reach out to the neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. With the amount of preservation and open space that we've provided, I think we've done that. And so, I just think we've got a good project to deliver something that the county needs in an area of the county that is really needed as well.
Well, and I certainly applaud you for working with the city of Phoenix Springs on public water and sewer. Not yet available along Cat Island Road, I don't think.
We're heading out to 83, connecting. There's just to the east of this to kind of get some folks oriented is the prison. And there are utilities there. We've worked with Definiac. There's no problems. They had one little minor comment on the type of pump, I think it was, that we specified. So that's, so bottom line, we met with the city of Definiac Water and Sewer, and they're good to go and excited about the project as well.
Okay. I'd suggest we go ahead and have the community meeting before we move this out of TRC. There very well may be something that comes out of the community meeting that will impact the design or some aspect of the project. I mean, we're asking folks to do community meetings on very small projects that impact a much smaller neighborhood. And given the scale of this one, I think it's prudent that we have a community meeting. There may not be anybody interested, but I think you'll probably find that when folks see the scale of this, they're going to have some interest. How are we going to deal with the traffic at Cat Island Road and Highway 83?
Turn lanes.
That was one of my questions was, has your client agreed to the northbound left turn lane and the southbound right turn lane?
It's warranted through the traffic analysis, so, I don't think there's much agreeing to it, quite frankly. They understand that that is an aspect of the project that has to happen.
Yeah.
And they want to deliver a safe project also. So, they don't have any problem with that. I mean, it's an expensive and a big deal. I would like to speak a little bit further on some of the transportation impact fees that are required, in conjunction with this type of regional type improvement on State Road 83. It's not their fault that there's so much traffic on that road now, and I hate to say that they're penalized for that, which isn't exactly the case, but it's necessary. I mean, the turn lane is necessary. They understand that, but a lot of that's driven by the amount of traffic that's there already. So I think with those improvements, I don't think that it should be double dipped, if you will, on the transportation impact fee, but we can discuss that with you about getting credits, because the cost of that is going to far exceed the transportation impact fee. And it'll be a significant improvement for the county, not only for this project, but for everybody.
The engineering comments were pretty minor in nature. The main thing that we wanted to make sure was that your client agreed to those improvements that were warranted in your traffic study.
Yes, sir, they do.
These are pretty big blocks. 17 houses, double loaded streets.
That's the type of development it takes to deliver housing that's affordable. I mean, but also if you look at the amount of open space that's preserved to deliver the number of housing, and there's economy of scale also. It's on a per lot basis to deliver a 10 lot subdivision versus a 400 lot subdivision. You get some economy of scale though, and that's kind of the idea. So that's what it takes to deliver housing at a good price point.
One of the things that we'll be interested in about, and I appreciate those comments, and those are noted, given the layout of this particular development, it's largely on the side of rolling hills, rolling down to the lake. This is a big construction site. And that's a pretty important lake. We're going to be very concerned about how we manage our stormwater runoff during construction. I'm also concerned about just how we're going to build this. At some point, the applicant is going to want to start building some houses. So some money starts coming back the other direction.
Sure.
Is he proposing to build his houses himself, or are we going to be selling lots to individuals who will custom build homes?
That would be a question for the client. I don't have that answer.
That's,
I believe that they'll be selling to multiple home builders, but I don't know that for certain.
we'd like some idea of that, because that will affect some of the conditions we might put on this. We need to know how it's going to be from a construction standpoint, just how you're going to manage building this, phasing it, or I've never seen a project this size that had one final CO.
Yes, sir. The plan is to phase the project, and it's been designed in a manner such that it has 3 lift stations in the project. It has multiple, because of the lay of the land, it's sort of on a crest, if you will, where it falls off east and west. And so it really lends itself to a phased development. So the way that we designed it compartmentalized all of the aspects necessary for those particular phases. And I thought that our plan showed phase lines on our overall master plan. I may be mistaken there, but we do have those phase lines. We know how that's going to be phased. And so, and everything is self-contained per phase. So in other words, when we call it the first 50 lots, the stormwater associated with those 50 lots are included in that. Same with the sewer and the lift station and the water. And so we've got proper valving to valve that off so that we can do that phase, plat it in phases. So I don't anticipate any problems there. Also, we've taken a very conscious look at the historic drainage patterns. And so a lot of our storm ponds, cascade is the wrong word, but they utilize those existing man-made ponds. Now, those are man-made ponds that are out there existing. We protected all of those because they are deemed wetlands. And so it's a bit of a clustering of lots, if you will, so that we could protect those natural areas. It's going to be a good project. I think people are going to enjoy living there.
Well, I mean, our county certainly needs housing, given the number of people that are moving here every single day, which is a wonderful thing in most regards. I appreciate that y'all have taken the time to identify the phasing from a construction standpoint and a platting standpoint. Renee, I would like for Jacob to take a look at the phasing, since he's going to be the guy that has to sign off phase by phase to make sure that there's not something that he sees that we might want to do differently. But
Looking at the site plan, sir, I'm seeing the blocking plan, but I'm not real clear on phase 1.
yeah, more formal phasing plan with this construction schedule.
Okay.
Anyone else have any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Putting in staff board, 416 units comes up to 4 units per acre. So we're right on the money with that.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a major development. It's going to get public hearings before the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners once it reaches that stage in the review process. Is there anyone in the audience this morning that wishes to ask a technical compliance question or compliance with a comprehensive plan? Yes, sir, if you could come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Spence Moldovan, and I live at 367 Cat Island Road. And my property is just west of the proposed subdivision. And my concerns are that I don't have a cross-section of this plan. I have the plan view itself, but I don't see anywhere where they're showing whether they're going to increase the elevations or anything like that. And I'm worried about my property being flooded when they go to build these new houses and so forth. That's one of my concerns. The other concern is that I have well water, and I'm a little bit concerned about, when we go to start building all these houses and we get all these, people spraying their lawns and all that stuff, is that going to be, some way, is it going to, deter the water from going into the ground and contaminating my well system? Another concern is, of course, the 361 houses that are being built. At this point in time, we're having another 50 that are being built right down the road in another subdivision that's kind of, and I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but he indicated that this property was cleared adjacent. Well, it was cleared, but it wasn't really, there's a lot of nature out there, and there's a lot of stuff. We see turtles and all that time going into that area, and the birds and all that stuff. And I know that they indicated that it was cleared and also so forth.
Those turtles might be gopher tortoises?
We have seen them, yes, sir. They go across my lawn into that area. And he said that there was one nest, but we see them all the time. Another concern is, looking at the plan site, I'm not sure whether there's going to be a buffer. And I'm by listening to other meetings, it indicated that in some places the buffers aren't really, they don't make them do that. But I mean, we've been living there for 9 years now. And it's kind of going to, where the houses are located, they're going to be right there where it's going to invade our privacy in a sense. And we were just wondering if there was going to be trees or a fence put up along the area where we live. Also, our concerns are the traffic that's going to be increased on our road. I understand that they're going to build the turning lanes and so forth and all that, but, there's always going to be people that are going to be parking on the side of the road and stuff like that in this big of an area. So, and those are my concerns.
Thank you, sir. Your concerns have been added to the record.
Thank you.
I would expect that when they have a community meeting, that those are the kinds of things that they'd be happy to address with the neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. If you'd come to the podium and state your name for the record, please, and spell your last name.
I'm John Bussard, and I welcome a
Could you spell your
development.
Could you spell your last name?
Bussert.
Thank you, sir.
I welcome a development to Walton County. It's going to help us all if it's done right. I am on the south of this property. I have 2,500 feet from 83 to Lake Juniper. Now, what I'm building is my life dream. I have a lot of parrots. I entertain with parrots. Been doing Trump's house for 25 years, Destin. I have a rescue for birds. I've planted 350 palm trees, and I'm making nature trails and jungle trails and have a place for school kids to come and do educational things. What I'm concerned about is, with all these houses and people to the north of me wanting to come over to my property, I mean, I have this now, and trespass and look at things and steal and all this, will there be a fence required? I had bought 30 acres at Natural Bridge, going to do this same thing. I had springs, an 80-foot cliff, 4 creeks, a pond, and with the meth heads up there and the drunks and the trespassers and the hunters, I had to abandon I even built a house, I had to abandon the idea. So I bought this 4 years ago, and I just want me and this project to be a good fit. That's all. And this could be taken up with a neighborhood thing.
Hey, I would encourage you to speak to the developer's representative and/or the developer and share your concerns.
Sure.
And see how y'all can work together.
All righty. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else have a question or a compliance comment about this particular development? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Landry.
Wondering, since the property is so large, that perhaps they could go out further than 300 feet to send out notices. That was just a suggestion. Right.
Thank you. And given the proximity of this, I'm not sure that that's necessary, but that's up to the applicant to make sure that they have adequately notified folks. I think the most dense concentration of lots is going to be to the west. I would encourage you to broaden your net for this particular community meeting as much as you think is necessary. Did you have a comment, sir? Yes, sir. If you could come to the podium.
Yes, my name is Gene Large, Large. I bought property on Juniper Lake on Squirrel Road about a year ago. Currently building a place there. Just as I know they had mentioned in the traffic, and I apologize if there's more out there than I don't know about, but I know they talked about turn lanes. But just in the year that I'm currently living on the property in a motorhome, but in the year that I've lived there, just getting off and on of 83 from the traffic on Cat Island, at times I've counted 40 cars waiting to get onto 83 off of Cat Island Road. There's a lot of other construction and everything going on there now. So my concern, turn lanes are great, but if you can't stop the traffic on 83 without a traffic light or something like that, that's a concern. You had that many number of homes just to be able to get onto 83 in the morning and in the evenings to me, is going to be a major concern, and then also a safety concern of traffic going northbound, turning onto Cat Island Road. They're going to take chances. People do it now just to get on that road, and you add that much traffic, it's going to back up. I don't know that turn lanes themselves would be sufficient for that.
Well, given that I drive down that road frequently to the park that's at the end of the road there, which I like to fish down there from time to time, I'm very familiar with that particular intersection, and yes, northbound turning left onto Cat Island Road, certainly on a weekend can be pretty dangerous.
And it backs traffic up all the way down 83 while you're sitting there waiting to turn. Turn lanes will help with that, but I don't know how long your turn lanes are going to be. But
here's sort of how this works. We have traffic engineers that prepare reports about the impacts of this. They use the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Big book of traffic studies that are done on these individual kinds of developments to see exactly what kind of traffic they are generating, and these are the standards that we apply to the application, and there are some engineering formulas associated with that. There's a traffic warrant analysis that's done for a traffic light. That's how the recommendations for the turn lanes come about, and based on that proposed traffic, the length of those particular turn lanes compared to the traffic that's in the background on Highway 83, that's not always in the background, as you well know. That's how we determine what proposed improvements are warranted at the present time based on the existing traffic and the proposed traffic that's anticipated because of this planned development. So we are very concerned with safety, and we absolutely look hard at those things that you're describing. Based on the engineering standards that we have to apply, it will either warrant the turn lanes of a certain length, or it'll warrant a traffic light in addition to that. At some point in our lifetime, State Road 83 is going to be four-lined. It might potentially be redirected once it gets down into the Funiac about the location of the fairgrounds. It'd be redirected off to the west, so it intersects with US 331 through the Wayside Park. That's a potential improvement that should improve traffic flow on Highway 83 in advance of the four-lining. But the county has recently completed a countywide mobility plan study where we look at all of the traffic that we anticipate over the next 20 years. And there are a number of improvements that are planned into the future, and four-laning State Road 83 is one of those kinds of things. So we are looking out into the future. The traffic that we have this weekend is not the only traffic we're going to have. And yes, there are some new homes being built at the west end of Cat Island Road there. I think it's 50 lots. And with this, that's going to put a lot more traffic into that intersection. And we're very concerned about that, and we're going to take a very close look at that. But thank you very much for your comments, and they are on the record.
Well, I appreciate that. I moved from Fort Walton. I had a home there on 98 in Florosa, just west of Fort Walton, and I built it 40 years ago, and we moved here to get away from that.
Know about
And
traffic.
I was amazed at how fast it's already growing here, and I'm like, maybe I didn't go far enough north. But I appreciate you looking at it and your explanations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for moving to Walton County. Anyone else have a technical question about this particular application? Seeing none, we will move forward with the recommended motion. How much time do we think we need? Which probably is related to scheduling the community meeting and that detail.
Yes, sir, to put a timeline on that, I'm not sure. I appreciate the granting the recommendation of the planning department to move forward contingent on addressing comments. You know, I'm thinking probably 2 to 3 weeks that we can have the community meeting and address all the comments. Like I said, they're fairly minor. You know, maybe call it a month to hit, what would that be? February, March, possibly the
First meeting in April,
for planning commission.
first meeting in March,
Yes, sir. And just so I'm clear, for
middle meeting in March.
when you said grant the recommendation, the recommendation in the staff report to move to planning commission contingent on addressing comments, right? So we're looking at planning commission in April.
And I think we could get the planning commission in April, but we need to come to TRC on March 16th.
I understand. So
Because I want to hear the community meeting result. That would be my recommendation. We continue to March 16th. Planning on being at planning commission the following month. And I think we could possibly, providing we get some of these details taken care of, probably be at BCC at the end of April. I wouldn't be opposed to that schedule. I mean, North County needs housing. You're proposing to bring some in at an affordable price point. We're going to do what we can to help you, but given the scale of this project, we need to make sure that the folks in the neighborhood have an adequate opportunity to understand a 400-plus unit project right next door to them.
yes, sir, I understand. We're looking forward to that meeting.
And y'all will do a good job in that meeting, as y'all always do. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion to continue to, is it March 16th? March 16th?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 16, 2022 TRC at 8:30 a.m. in this location. This will move us to item number 18. Quit messing with that pen. I'll try. Didn't think you could hear it up here. Well, I can anyway, so. Item number 18, the Destiny Worship Small Scale Amendment. This future land use amendment has been reviewed by Kelly Schultz. Kelly, if you can introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a request to approve by ordinance. Project number is FLU 000002. It is a future land use amendment with a rezoning application submitted by Matthews and Jones LLP on behalf of Destiny Worship Center Incorporated.
Hold on just a second so we can.
You start over, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, ma'am, if you would.
Okay, so again, this is project number FLU 22-000002. It's a future land use amendment with rezoning application submitted by Matthews and Jones LLP on behalf of Destiny Worship Center Incorporated. They're requesting to change the future land use designation of the property from public facilities and institutional to mixed use, and change the zoning district from institutional to coastal center. The project site is 1.67 acres. It's located in District 4 at 244 Hollywood Road. It's in North Miramar Beach. And also at 276 Hollywood Road. The parcel identification numbers are in your packet. Just for the record, this project site is developed, so the development should not be changing as far as what's on the property at this point in time. We would like to request that the staff report as well as citizen serve electronic file be entered into the record, please.
So entered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Ready for me? All right. Good morning, Stephen Tatum on behalf of the applicant. Ms. Schultz did a great job explaining what we're doing here. This is just a land use and zoning change so that we will be not a non-conforming use, but a legal conforming use when the property sells. Right now, it's owned by Destiny Worship Center, operated by Destiny Worship Center, and as soon as they sell it, we would have a commercial enterprise in there. The actual uses will not change. It will still be office space, storage, and the dormitories that are located on the property will be utilized for seasonal employees. So they'll only be there from like April, May to about the end of September. Besides that, the dormitories will be vacant. So unless y'all have got any questions for me. Oh, I did want to point out one other thing. As a part of the purchase, we are buying a lot to the east of us that is zoned neighborhood infill. You can see it on the zoning map that's in your plans. We are not asking for a change on that. We're leaving it neighborhood infill and it will stay vacant. The thought process is, it's providing a buffer. And if at any time it wanted to be split off and sold for a house or something, then it would be used for residential purposes. But there's no intent to develop anything on there or anywhere else.
I do have a question about the existing use for dormitories. This used to be a church.
That's right.
How do we get to dormitories?
Well, the church itself, that building that was the chapel, that's what they call it now, is still there and still used as a chapel and for storage, right, at the present. The dormitories are there. I was first told they were for rehabilitation purposes. I've later found out that they were not rehabilitation, but for the interns that Destiny Worship Center hires, that's where the interns live. So the dormitories, as far as I know, have been there since those buildings were constructed, and that would have been in the mid-90s.
What were they previously used for?
They've always been dormitories.
We've got like multifamily buildings on this site?
But they're not multifamily buildings because they're not individual dwelling units. These are straight up dormitory like you would think of, where you've got a sleeping area, a kitchen, if you will, and bathroom area in each building. The main kitchen is in a separate building on the property, and that's where the actual meals are prepared and things of that nature.
I just wasn't aware we had any housing on this site. I mean, did those used to be Sunday school buildings?
Like I said, as far as I know, they have always been dormitories. Now, yeah, there probably was a time in the past that they were used for something else, or as to when the change happened, I can't testify to. I have no idea.
I just wasn't aware we had that use on this site. We need to understand how that use came to be. If it was ever permitted or if it just appeared in the middle of the night. Given the history of that particular street, and my limited knowledge of the history of this neighborhood and the litigation that has gone on in the last 20 years, I'd like to understand how those became dormitories. In the context of somebody's buying this to continue that use.
I could check with DWC and see if it was a use that was started by them or if it was there when they purchased it, because, they purchased it from the previous church.
Yeah, and as my recollection there is the previous clergy that was in charge of that particular church, and I remember this because it was such an unusual request. He wanted to get a permit from the county to be buried on this campus.
Did that happen? If so, it's not marked.
No, but I would suggest that y'all need to find that out.
Get some sonar out there and see if we can find it.
Because, we spent a year with him trying to
Interesting.
convince him that we were not the agency to allow him to be buried on the church property.
Well, we'll look into that.
Church state law and those kinds of things. But I'm pretty sure he passed away, but I'm not exactly sure where he might be, but that might be something important.
That would be, you're right. Although we're not, like I said, we're not proposing any added uses or buildings. We're actually reducing the number of dormitories from 29 down to 22.
Have we had any kind of meeting with neighbors on this one?
Informal. We have talked to the neighbors to the north and when I say neighbors, like immediately adjacent neighbors, to the north and to the east. And they're in favor of it because how much work's already been put into it by the potential buyer. He's gone in, spruced it up, making it look good. He does intend to fence the entire thing. I actually sent an email to you and Kelly yesterday about that, asking requirements for it.
Has title already transferred on that?
Not yet, no. It's pending the approval of the change.
Making improvements on this prospective purchase?
Well, yeah, we brought that to his attention, but he feels like that he's making a good faith effort and showing the community what he actually intends to do. He owns the property. It's La Dolce Vita. They own the property immediately to the west of this, where they have their chair refurbishing area, which is also being remodeled and spruced up right now. I say remodeled, the exterior is being made to look better.
Yeah, that's all still Coastal Center there, and there's a history of litigation regarding uses in Coastal Center on that street.
If a change of use would be required, when we get through the zoning change, land use change, that wouldn't be an issue, I don't think, because it would still be an allowed use in Coastal Center.
When we get to the BCC, the first question is going to be, did you have a community meeting?
Well,
Now.
Okay.
So you can answer affirmatively and share what you learned in the community meeting.
Okay.
As opposed to waiting a month at the BCC and doing it. I imagine the question will get asked at Planning Commission also. And if you've already taken care of that requirement, I would expect that would accrue in your favor.
All right.
What you want to do?
I would prefer to go ahead, recommend approval. I'll hold a community meeting before PC.
I'm okay with that, given the scale of this particular location, and having the community meeting before we advertise for Planning Commission. There may be something interesting that comes out of that. I would strongly encourage you to See if we can find the answer as to where the previous clergyman may now.
It's in my notes.
Die.
That's an interesting one.
We'll take a moment to see if we have any technical questions or complaint compliance questions from any member of the audience.
All right.
Anyone in the audience have a question about this particular application in compliance with the Land Development Code or Comprehensive Plan? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion at the dais.
Are you wanting to make the community meeting a condition of moving this forward, or is that just a recommendation?
Well, it's certainly a recommendation. I don't know that we need to make it a condition prior to going to our yeah, let's make that a condition prior to scheduling the planning commission.
So I make a motion, we conditionally approve this and with the condition of holding a community meeting prior to scheduling the planning commission.
We have a motion at the dais. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to the planning commission, subject to holding the community meeting prior to that advertising.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself from the next two items, being that they were submitted on behalf of Dewberry.
Karen, if you can note that in our record. Item number 19, the Morgan Developer Agreement, reviewed by Bob Baranti. Bob, if you can, and I think this goes along with the next item, the Morgan Small Scale Amendment. If you could introduce those for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As you stated, this is the Morgan Developers Agreement. That's a requirement for the Morgan SSA, which is the next project on the agenda. It's a developers agreement submitted by Dewberry Engineers Incorporated on behalf of Benjamin Morgan to set development controls on the proposed future land use and official zoning district changes from the current future land use of state residential to industrial and extractive uses, and the current zoning from estate residential to light industrial on 4.66 plus or minus acres. The property is located in District 1, and it is also located on 4646 State Highway 20, West Freeport, Florida, and the parcel number is published in your staff report. Mr. Chair, this developers agreement is a requirement from the Air Force because it is in the military influence zones and the missile training routes. This development agreement must be approved before the small scale amendment can be approved because it limits intensities on the requested land use change to light industrial. As you see, beginning on the end of page 2 to page 3, there are 14 items that are addressed that are either prohibited or the density is reduced to an acceptable level for the Eglin Air Force to continue their mission. This developers agreement has been reviewed and okayed by staff at Eglin and has been reviewed and okayed by the land planning lawyer. I would like to enter it into the staff report along with the electronic citizen serve files.
Developer agreement, staff report, and our electronic record so entered.
Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the agent?
No, sir, thank you, Bob. Did anyone else have any questions for Bob? Thank you, Bob.
So basically, this would allow them to do their storage that they propose.
We'll hear from the applicant. Thanks, sir. Good morning, Rudy.
As Bob said already, Eglin Air Force Base has some prohibited uses that are allowed in the light industrial zoning, I guess, allowable uses, and those are defined in page 3 of 7 on the developer's agreement, items 2 through 9. Those are defined there. And the applicant here, Ben Morgan's here as well. Pretty straightforward if you guys have any questions.
I do have one question. Have we had any kind of public outreach, any community meeting?
No, sir.
I would as we did on the last item, I'd recommend we do that before we move to the planning commission. Because they will ask that question and likely continue you to give you that opportunity.
Okay.
I'm pretty certain it'll happen at the BCC. So my best advice is to go ahead and have a community meeting so you can say you did, invite folks so that you actually get some kind of response. They may be very happy with what you're proposing. They may have some piece of information that might be useful in your development plan that might not be available from some other source. But we're changing the future land use map and zoning district. It's usually a good idea to make sure the neighbors understand what you're proposing and why, because they usually show up at public hearings objecting to something that they think is going to happen, and it may not be what you're proposing, which will cause a delay in that review process if we have some folks show up that haven't had an opportunity to understand what your project is. So I'd recommend that you do that as early as possible for the reasons stated. Things usually go much easier if you've already told all the neighbors rather than get to meet them at a public meeting. So that would be my recommendation, that we have a public meeting before we schedule for planning commission.
Yes, sir. We'll do that.
Do you think 30 days is long enough to accomplish that? Then we'll entertain a motion to continue this item to the March 16th TRC, which would give you adequate time to notify the neighbors and have a community meeting and hopefully learn something useful.
Thank you.
Could we have a motion at the dais? Thanks, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair, would you like?
Likewise. Hearing none, this item is continued to the March 16, 2022 TRC at 8:30 a.m. I'm sorry, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to Planning Commission, subject to having a community meeting prior to the Planning Commission advertising. And then,
Mr. Chair, that wasn't what you asked them if it would be okay to continue it to hold the public
sorry.
meeting and then come back to the 316 TRC meeting.
my confusion. The motion is to, and let's just re-vote on this. The motion is to continue to March 16th to allow time for a community meeting. Could we restate that motion and vote? Which you can't do it. It has to be you.
Motion to continue to March 16th.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This item is continued to March 16th to provide time for the community meeting. Item number 20, the Morgan Small Scale Amendment is the companion project to that. If we could have a similar motion to continue that item to March 16th also.
Motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
We have a second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, both of these items have been continued to the March 16th TRC to provide time for the applicant to have a community meeting and hopefully learn something useful for their project. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Bob. That moves us to item number 21, lots 19 and 20, Serenity at Dune Allen. Minor development review by Bob Baranti. Bob, if you can introduce this one for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The project, lots 19 and 20, Serenity at Dune Allen, is requests to approve by development order. The project number is MIN 22-00002. It's being reviewed by myself. This is a minor development application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Destin Properties General Partnership, requesting to reconfigure preservation on 0.13 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential and the zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is in District 4, and it's located at 14 Magical Place, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, and 22 Magical Place, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. It's identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report. Mr. Chair, this is a development order request to change the previously approved development order to allow for replat, which this project will marry up with in the future. The staff, there are some outstanding comments. Nothing that I see is major, that there's no reason why they couldn't address these comments. The school board has wrote that there won't be any impact in the schools. Eglin has no comment on this minor development application, and GIS says that it meets County Ordinance 2006-17 at this time. I'd like to enter the staff report, citizen serve files, and all associated electronic files into the record, please.
So entered, Bob. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you don't have any questions for me at this point, I'll turn it over to the agent.
I have no questions. Any questions for Bob?
I'll turn it over to the agent. Thank you, sir.
Morning, Sean Humphrey, Emerald Coast Associates. All the comments are very minor. We can address those, and actually, I believe we can have this back to the county end of today for these comments. So I would just request to approve this based on completion of these comments.
Thank you, sir. I think the nature of the comments are very minor, and this is a remedy. I don't see any need to hold this one up any further, subject to satisfaction of those outstanding comments. And I think we could, once that's done, we can schedule the plat for the BCC without having to come back here, if that's okay with you guys. We'll entertain a motion to move item number 21 to conditionally approve that to move forward to development order. And then we'll address number 22 as a separate motion.
I'll make a motion, we move it forward, subject to satisfactory response to all outstanding comments.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is approved to move forward to development order, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments. The companion application, number 22, Serenity at Dune Allen, Lot 19, replat. Looks like we got some minor comments outstanding on that one also. That look look to be easily resolved. Bob?
Yes, sir. As you said, and this is the companion piece, the replat that'll go with the revised development order. It's request to approve by final plat, project number PLA 22-000002. It's a plat application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Destin Properties GP, requesting to replat Lot 19 and 20 on 0.13 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential in a zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 4, and it is also located at 14 Magical Place and 22 Magical Place. The staff report is public, or the parcel numbers are published in your staff report. The comments appear to be minor. There's nothing I see that would be a big hindrance to move this forward once they resubmit, and then once I receive the Mylar, to schedule to go to the BCC. Can I enter Citizen Serve, all its associated electronic files, and the staff report in the record, please?
So entered, thank you.
Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the agent?
No, sir.
May I turn it over to the agent, please, sir?
Good morning. Darrell Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. I am the surveyor of record for the subdivision plat. I have reviewed the comments. I feel as though we can get them addressed and resubmitted here today in conjunction with the development order comments as well.
Thanks, sir. Anyone have any comments for Darrell or questions for Darrell? Thanks, sir. I think these comments are very minor, and this is a remedy. I would entertain a motion to move this forward to the BCC, subject to satisfaction of all outstanding comments.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. This one is conditionally approved to move forward to BCC, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments and production of signed Mylar. That moves us to item number 23, the Choctaw Beach Fire Station House, a minor development reviewed by Bob Baranti. Bob, if you can introduce it for us. And this one, you're recusing
I'm going to
yourself
recuse
also.
myself on this one also. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, as you stated, this is the Choctaw Beach Fire Station. This is to replace the existing fire station. It's a request for development order. The project number is MIN 22-000001. This is a minor development application submitted by Dewberry Engineers on behalf of the Walton County, requesting to develop 8,120 square feet of firehouse on 11.40 plus or minus acres with a future land use of rural residential in the zoning district of Royal Village. The property is located in District 1, and it'll be located on the west side of Western Street off of Highway 20, and it's identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, there's minor comments that I've spoke to the agent, and they feel that they will be able to answer them and respond in a timely manner. I'd like to enter the staff report in the Citizen Serve electronic files into the record, please.
So entered.
Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the agent?
I don't think I do. Anyone else? Question for Bob? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll turn it over to the agent.
Rudy Mall with Dewberry Engineers. We received comments last Thursday. We responded to the comments, I believe, yesterday. All comments we believe are addressed, pending the one comment of adding a project schedule to the cover page. We will do that today and have that uploaded. Despite that, we believe all comments have been addressed.
And thank you, sir, and just for the public's information, this is the relocation of the fire station from the south side of Highway 20,
Yes, sir.
right on the cliff there,
Mm-hmm.
to a much more resilient location.
Absolutely.
And we're getting a first-class fire station for the Choctaw Beach neighborhood. Not sure that a community meeting would be appropriate in this particular case, but we're going to take the opportunity to invite any public comments from anyone in our audience this morning, given this is going to be a major infrastructure improvement to this part of our county. Anyone wishing to ask a question about technical compliance or comprehensive plan compliance on this particular application? Seeing no hands up, we will move forward with the recommended motion. This is a minor development. I think the comments are very minor. I think we could entertain a motion to conditionally move this forward to development order subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments. Unless someone has a different idea.
I have no say in
We'll
this.
entertain a different idea.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Seeing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to development order subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. This will move to the final item on our agenda this morning, the East Hewitt subdivision. Minor development reviewed by Bob Baranti. Bob, if you could introduce this one for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as you said, this is East Hewitt subdivision with its project number MIN 22-000003. It's a minor development application submitted by Interlight Engineering Incorporated on behalf of Alliant Capital Partners, LLC. We're requesting to develop 19 single-family lots and associated infrastructure on 10.05 plus or minus acres with the future land use of conservation residential in a zoning district of conservation residential 2 units to 1. The property is located in District 4 and is located on the east side of East Hewitt Road, approximately 0.6 miles from Highway 98, and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, there are some just minor comments that need to be addressed. I don't see anything that would prohibit this to be a quick turnaround for their comments. The agent is here. May I enter the staff report and the citizen serve electronic files into record, please?
So entered.
Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the agent?
Maybe in a minute, but I think we can hear from the agent now.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Carpenter and members of the council. Jim Martelli, good to see you guys. It's been a little while.
Yes.
And I'm sorry I have to end the meeting for you guys here. I have to see me, but thank you for having us.
Welcome back to the TRC. We haven't seen you in a
No,
while.
we haven't. Good to see you guys. So, yeah, it's a pretty small project. We did get a grouping of comments. We actually have addressed most of them already, and we expect to get those returned to you guys in a couple of days or so. Didn't know if you have any comments for me or any questions for me. I'd be glad to try to answer those, but we respectfully would. And thank you, Bob, for doing such a great job to go with his recommendation and move it forward to the DO, subject to us addressing the comments satisfactorily, of course.
I have one question, or maybe follow up, but anyway, the retaining walls, with, it's.
Hey, Bill.
How you doing?
Yeah.
We're showing the retaining wall right at the building setback line. So what's the intent with these type of residences, I guess? Is there no backdoor exit?
It is the setback line. There's not a house design yet. It could be a stem wall. All the stormwater will go to the street. That's why we put the retaining wall there to kind of ensure that all that stormwater would make it to the street and into our pond. And so that was kind of the reasoning for that. Yeah.
And I think I do have the same question. I know that we do have the planning comment about putting the preservation in a common area.
And that may be some semantics that we probably should have worded that a little better. But it's not preservation, it's the open space land use requirement. It's the 60% open space requirement is what we're intended to meet. There are no Chapter 4 native preservation communities on the site. And obviously, therefore, there's no preservation of those communities because of that. So we did label it preservation, but it's really open space to be preserved, if that makes sense, based on the land use.
Undisturbed.
Yes, sir. Undisturbed.
And that sort of takes me to the next question, which is your question, is how are we going to access the back of this house? I mean, are we going to put decks and stairs into the open space?
No, there'll be no decks or stairs into the open space there. I mean, there might be a patio back there. And that back line is a setback line, but most likely that building will not be, obviously on that line. But once again, you'll access through your house to your patio or around your side yard. We did a similar project to this on Musset Bayou where we actually had preservation between the lot lines. We felt like that was a little tough to actually practically pull off. So we came up with this scheme, which is a lot better than the other one that was approved a couple years ago. So we tried to be conscientious of that at least.
Will this applicant also be building these houses, or are these going to be
Most likely, they'll be sold to a builder.
to one builder?
One builder, yes.
Here's what I'd like to see addressed, and I'd like to see this in covenants, since we'll ultimately be platting this, as just what can be done on the back sides of these houses. And the reason I'm asking for that now is because once we get individual building permit reviews in, chances are we've added some gingerbread during the sales process. Some of our larger developers, provide incentives for closing. Those incentives aren't always placed in the right spot. And we've had circumstances where developer or builder was offering decks on the back side of the house, and there was no room for the deck, which becomes a problem with building permit review, or if they're placed after the CO, which we had a development that did that, it becomes a parade through the code magistrate.
Well, we could add a note on the final plat if you'd like to make a condition of that. We could make it a no clear, no impact zone on the recorded plat. That's done all the time.
I mean, I think we need to be on record identifying that up front, just so when somebody buys that, when I buy something, or when anyone buys something, they're going to do something to make it their own, to personalize it. So it's not just like their neighbors. And that's likely where I see, if we're going to claim the open space right up to the building footprint, then we need to make sure that it remains open space, and people understand just what latitude they have to add something.
Your preference would be to have it in the CCRs in that case?
I think that's probably where that needs to be.
Sure.
Probably need to billboard it here in the development order, and just indicate that that's also going to be in the covenants and restrictions too, just so we got the two tied together. Just trying to look out for the end user, and also our building permit reviewers, and our code enforcement staff.
Gotcha.
Make sure that everybody clearly understands what they're getting on the front end. I think it will work out a lot better for everyone.
Fair enough.
Had any kind of community meeting?
We have not had a community meeting on this one. It's a pretty low density development We're nestling it right in the middle of the site. We have avoided all of the, the environmentally sensitive properties on the project as well. We have received no phone calls or anything like that based on our notifications. Unless there may be someone in the audience that I'm unaware of, I don't think there's been any opposition or any comments that we've received so far.
I mean, others have reviewed the grading plan, but I would assume without looking at the grading plan that we're not grading in this area that's shown as the open space.
That's correct, yes.
And I'm sure that we are adding some kind of fill to the actual lots themselves.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And given the proximity of that and the actual edge of the property line, I wouldn't expect that there would be any stormwater runoff issue related to change in grade between the new building pads and those existing lots, some of which may have been built on a number of years ago before we had all of our current flood zone policies in place that require the finished floor to be up above a certain level. Do you see any problem with any of that kind of thing?
Well, we were very conscientious in the design to account for that. And we're very fortunate on the south side of the property, particularly, our contours are flowing to the west. And we do have a bypass pipe as well to account for any runoff that comes from the upstream neighbors. So absolutely, we've accounted for that. We're proud of that one for sure, because, no one wants to be in the situation where, we're blocking flow paths or anything like that. So, I think it's a pretty good design considering all the constraints.
Well, we appear to have some good separation between the neighborhood to the south,
Mm-hmm.
which has, slightly different lot sizes, or significantly different lot sizes, but similar density. Anyone else have any questions? For the applicant?
Public Works had a comment regarding to the discharge to East Hewitt going to West Hewitt, and whether or not this project will need to attenuate the 100-year critical storm. If you do, I don't know if you've looked at that yet. Do you think you can make it work here without much of a redesign?
Yeah, I have personally talked to Chance and Anna about that to try to get my understanding of the concerns that they have. We have redesigned the pond to account for the 100-year.
Okay.
So we're good to go in that regard, at least. So.
That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Since this is a minor development, we're going to take just a moment and invite any questions about technical compliance from any member of our audience this morning. Anyone in the audience have a technical compliance question about this particular development or compliance with our comprehensive plan? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion. Rob, you have a recommended motion?
Yes, sir. Make a recommended motion to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal and addressing all the comments. Once that happens, to issue the development order.
Chair, I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally moved forward to development order subject to satisfaction of all outstanding comments. And that concludes our agenda this morning. Thanks everyone for your patience and your civility. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you. Boy, you got back from your pre-op record time there.
Well, like I said, it was a simple